Rizwan lived in a quiet neighborhood where everyone knew each other. The streets were clean, the houses were lined up in neat rows, and the community had a homeowners association, or HOA. The HOA often reminded people about small rules, like keeping their lawn trimmed or not leaving trash outside for too long. Rizwan followed the rules and rarely had any problems. One summer evening, Rizwan parked his car outside his house after returning from work. It was his pride and joy, an old but shiny silver sedan that he had kept in perfect condition. He locked it carefully and walked inside, planning to rest after a long day. The next morning, when he stepped out, he noticed something unusual. A man in a dark uniform stood near his car. The man wore sunglasses and had a badge pinned to his shirt. He looked like an officer, but something about him felt strange. His badge did not look like the ones real police officers carried. "Sir, you cannot park here," the man said in a sharp voice. Rizwan frowned. "This is my own house. I have parked here for years." "Who are you?" "I am with the HOA enforcement," the man replied, tapping the badge on his shirt. "This car is violating the rules. It must be moved immediately." Rizwan was surprised. "There is no rule against parking here. The HOA never said anything to me." "Show me the notice if you have one." The man grew annoyed. "Do not question me. If you do not move it, I will take action." Before Rizwan could respond, the man walked away quickly, leaving him confused. Rizwan shook his head, thinking maybe it was a mistake or some new staff member. Still, the incident left him uneasy. Later that day, Rizwan went to the community office to ask. The HOA manager, an older woman named Noreen, looked puzzled when he described the man. "We do not have anyone like that," she said firmly. "The HOA does not hire officers with badges. We only send written notices if there is an issue. No one should threaten you like that." Rizwan realized something was wrong. Someone was pretending to be an HOA officer. But why would anyone do that? That night, he kept an eye on his car from the window. Hours passed quietly until near midnight, he heard a loud sound outside. He rushed out and froze in shock. The same man was standing beside his car, holding a heavy stick. The side mirror of the silver sedan was smashed, and cracks ran across the glass. "Stop!" Rizwan shouted, running toward him. The man turned, his face hard. "I warned you. You should have listened." Then, without another word, he dashed into the dark street and disappeared before Rizwan could catch him. Rizwan's hands shook as he looked at his car. His beloved sedan, which he had taken care of for years, was now damaged. Neighbors peeked from their windows, whispering in confusion, but no one had seen the man clearly. Rizwan knew this was not just about a parking rule. This was something personal, and the fake HOA cop had crossed a line. He felt anger rising inside him, but also a strong determination. Whoever that man was, he had made a mistake by choosing the wrong target. This was only the beginning. The next morning, Rizwan stood by his damaged car, still feeling frustrated from the night before. He could not believe someone would go this far just to pretend to be an officer. The side mirror was broken, and the scratches on the door were deep. He ran his hand over the metal and sighed. He decided to call the real police. When the officer arrived, Rizwan explained everything in detail. The officer listened carefully, wrote notes, and examined the damage. "This was not random," the officer said. "The person targeted your car on purpose. Did you upset anyone in the neighborhood?" Rizwan shook his head. "No, I mind my own business. Everyone knows me. But this man showed up claiming to be HOA enforcement. The HOA says they do not know him. The officer nodded. Then it seems someone is acting on their own. We will patrol the area, but I suggest you keep a close watch. After the officer left, Rizwan sat on his porch, thinking. The man had shown up twice already. That meant he might come again. If he wanted answers, he could not just wait. He had to find out who the fake cop really was. That evening, Rizwan went to talk to his neighbor, Bilal, who lived 2 houses down. Bilal often sat outside in the evenings and noticed small details. "Brother, did you see anyone last night?" Rizwan asked. Bilal nodded slowly. "I did not see his face clearly, but I noticed a dark car parked at the corner. It was there when the noise happened. After that, it drove away fast." "What kind of car was it?" Rizwan asked quickly. "A black SUV. Older model. The lights were dim." This was the first real clue. Rizwan thanked him and returned home with new determination. The fake cop might be hiding close by. That night, Rizwan prepared. He set up a small camera near his window facing the street. It was not a fancy camera, but enough to capture anyone who came near his car again. Then he waited. Hours passed slowly, but nothing happened. The street stayed quiet. The next day, Rizwan visited the HOA office again. He told Noreen about the incident in detail. She looked deeply concerned. "This is very serious," she said. "Someone is misusing our name. If the community finds out, they will be scared. We need to know who he is. I will check if anyone has complained recently about your parking spot." Later that afternoon, she called Rizwan back. "I checked our records. Only one person filed repeated complaints about parking on this street. His name is Majid. He lives 3 blocks away. But we never approved his requests." Rizwan frowned. He remembered Majid. A man in his 40s, always complaining about small things. He often argued with people about noise, trash, or garden size. Could Majid be the fake cop? That night, Rizwan's suspicion grew stronger. He decided to take a walk near Majid's house. When he reached there, he noticed a black SUV parked in the driveway. The same kind Bilal had described. Rizwan's heart raced. This could not be a coincidence. The next day, Rizwan told the police about his suspicion. The officer listened but said, "We cannot accuse someone without proof. But keep your camera ready. If this person comes again, record him. That will help us act." So Rizwan prepared once more. He cleaned his car, parked it in the same spot, and waited. His eyes kept going to the camera feed on his phone. He could feel the tension building. Late that night, just past midnight, movement appeared on the screen. A man in a dark uniform stepped out of a black SUV. He walked straight toward Rizwan's car with something in his hand. Rizwan's eyes widened. It was the same fake cop. And this time, he was caught on camera. But what Rizwan did next, the man did not expect at all. The video was clear. The man wore the same dark uniform, the same fake badge on his chest, and his face was visible under the streetlight. Rizwan watched the recording again and again. He felt both anger and relief. Now he had proof. The next morning, he showed the video to the police officer who had visited before. The officer leaned closer to the screen and nodded. "This is very useful. Now we know who we are looking for. But we still need to catch him in the act. If you are willing, we can set up a small trap." Rizwan agreed. He wanted the man stopped once and for all. That night, the plan began. Rizwan parked his silver sedan in the same spot and pretended to go to sleep. In truth, he stayed awake, hiding near the window. The police patrol car was stationed quietly 2 streets away, waiting for his call. Midnight passed. The street was silent. Then, just as Rizwan expected, the black SUV appeared at the corner. The fake cop stepped out, carrying a long metal rod. His eyes scanned the street before he moved toward Rizwan's car. Rizwan's heart beat faster. He picked up his phone but stopped. A thought struck him. This man had caused him damage, insulted him, and scared his neighbors. Rizwan did not just want the police to take him away quietly. He wanted to confront him face to face. So instead of calling, Rizwan walked out of the house. His sudden appearance startled the fake cop, who froze for a moment. "You again," Rizwan said firmly. "Why are you pretending to be HOA? Why are you attacking my car?" The man tightened his grip on the metal rod. His face showed anger, but also a hint of fear. "I warned you. You are breaking the rules. Cars like this make the street look bad. I am here to protect the community." Rizwan's voice grew stronger. "You are not protecting anyone. You are lying. I spoke with the HOA. They do not know you. You are just a bully pretending to have power." The fake cop stepped closer, his tone harsh. "You think you can stand against me? I am doing what the HOA is too weak to do. People thank me for keeping order." Rizwan did not step back. "People do not thank you. They are afraid of you. And tonight, your game ends." He lifted his phone high, showing the red recording light. "I have proof of everything. You are finished." The man's eyes widened. For a second, his confidence cracked. He looked at the glowing camera, then at Rizwan's steady face. In a burst of panic, he swung the metal rod at the car, shattering the other mirror. The loud crash echoed through the street. Rizwan quickly pressed the emergency call button. The police, already waiting nearby, raced to the scene. Within minutes, flashing lights filled the street. The fake cop tried to run, but Rizwan blocked his path long enough for the officers to grab him. They wrestled the rod out of his hand and pinned him to the ground. Neighbors stepped out of their houses, whispering in shock. Some recorded the scene with their phones. For the first time, everyone saw the truth. The so-called HOA officer was just a neighbor in disguise. As the police placed him in handcuffs, Rizwan finally asked, "Why me? Why did you target my car when so many others park here?" The man glared but stayed silent. The officer answered instead. "This is Majid. He has a long record of complaints against neighbors. It seems he decided to take matters into his own hands. You were not the only target, but you are the first to catch him." Rizwan felt a mix of relief and pride. His car was damaged, but his determination had exposed the truth. The fake cop had finally been caught. But Rizwan also knew the story was not over. Majid's arrest might reveal even more secrets about his behavior. And Rizwan was ready to face whatever came next. The street was quiet again the next morning, but the memory of flashing police lights still hung in the air. Rizwan walked outside to check his car. The damage from last night looked worse in daylight. Both mirrors were broken, the door had new dents, and the glass pieces still lay on the ground. Neighbors came by one after another, curious and worried. Some praised Rizwan for standing up against the fake cop, while others whispered that they had always found Majid strange. He once shouted at my son for leaving his bicycle near the sidewalk, one neighbor said. He knocked on my door at night, complaining about the color of my flowers, another added. It seemed everyone had a story about Majid, but no one had ever dared to stand up to him. Rizwan realized Majid's anger had been growing for years, and he had finally taken it too far. Later that day, the police officer who handled the arrest visited Rizwan. He explained that Majid was in custody and facing charges for vandalism, impersonating an officer, and harassment. Did you know he kept a whole box of fake badges and uniforms at his house? The officer said. He created his own version of authority. It seems he believed he was the only one who could enforce rules here. Rizwan shook his head in disbelief. So all this time, he was pretending to be someone important, just to scare people. Yes, the officer replied. We also found complaint letters he wrote but never sent to the HOA. Dozens of them. All about parking, trash cans, even the height of fences. He thought the community was falling apart, and he wanted control. That night, Rizwan sat on his porch, thinking about everything he had learned. He wondered how one man could let his frustration grow so big that he began living a lie. It made him realize something else too: sometimes silence gives power to the wrong people. If neighbors had spoken up earlier, Majid might never have gone this far. The next day, the HOA called a special community meeting. Dozens of residents gathered in the small hall near the park. Noreen stood at the front, her voice calm but firm. As you all know, an individual pretended to represent the HOA and caused damage in this community. We want to assure you that this behavior has nothing to do with us. The HOA does not allow threats or false authority. We thank Rizwan for his courage in exposing the truth. People clapped politely, and some turned toward Rizwan, nodding with respect. For once, he was not just the quiet man who lived on the corner, he had become the person who stopped the troublemaker everyone had feared. After the meeting, a few neighbors approached him. You should join the HOA committee, one suggested. We need people like you who care about fairness. Rizwan smiled faintly. He had never imagined being part of such things, but maybe it was time. If he wanted peace, he had to help build it. Days passed, and the street grew calmer. Children played outside without worrying about sudden scolding. Neighbors greeted each other more warmly. The dark shadow Majid had cast over the neighborhood was finally lifting. Still, Rizwan's car reminded him daily of what had happened. Every time he saw the broken mirror, he felt both anger and determination. He decided not to repair it right away. Instead, he left the damage as proof of what he had faced. One evening, as he was sweeping the driveway, Bilal walked over. You know, he said, Majid may be gone, but I doubt this is the last we will hear of him. Men like him do not change easily. If he comes back, you will need to be ready. Rizwan nodded. He had been thinking the same thing. Majid might return one day, bitter and angry. But if that happened, Rizwan knew he would not face him alone anymore. The community was awake now, and no one would stay silent again. For the first time in weeks, Rizwan felt at peace. Yet deep inside, he sensed the story was not fully over. Majid's secrets were still unfolding, and Rizwan might discover even more than he expected. A week passed since Majid's arrest. The neighborhood had grown calmer, but Rizwan's mind was not at ease. Something about the whole situation still felt unfinished. One afternoon, Rizwan received a call from the police station. The officer who had handled Majid's case wanted to meet him. Curious, Rizwan drove to the station. Inside, the officer greeted him with a serious look. We went through Majid's belongings, the officer explained. And we found something unusual. Not just fake badges and uniforms, but notebooks filled with notes about this community. Detailed notes. Names of families, car numbers, even the times when people left for work. Rizwan frowned. So he was watching everyone. Yes, the officer said. It seems he believed he was building a system of order. But the truth is, he was spying on his neighbors. There is one more thing. Your name appeared more than any other. Pages of notes about your car, your schedule, even your visitors. Rizwan felt a chill. Why me more than others? The officer sighed. We think he wanted to make an example out of you. By targeting you, he believed others would obey him faster. You became his main target. Driving back home, Rizwan could not stop thinking about the officer's words. The idea that Majid had been watching him so closely made his skin crawl. Why had no one noticed sooner? That evening, Bilal came over again. I heard Majid's brother visited the street today, he said. He was asking questions about what happened. People are nervous again. Rizwan nodded slowly. Maybe Majid is not finished with us. Maybe he had a bigger plan. The next morning, Rizwan decided to check the camera footage again, not just from the night Majid was caught but from earlier days. As he scanned through the recordings, something caught his eye. A shadow moving near his fence 2 nights before Majid's arrest. The figure was tall and moved differently from Majid. It was someone else. Rizwan's heart raced. Was Majid working alone, or did he have help? He remembered the officer's words about the notebooks. Maybe Majid had been sharing his obsession with others. Later, at the community office, Rizwan spoke with Noreen. She looked worried when he mentioned the shadow. I fear you may be right, she admitted. I once heard Majid arguing with 2 other men near the park. He was telling them that the HOA was weak and that they should enforce the rules themselves. At the time, I thought it was just talk. But now, I wonder if he had followers. Rizwan's chest tightened. If Majid had convinced others, then the problem was not solved. It was only waiting to rise again. That night, Rizwan could not sleep. He sat by the window, staring at his broken car. The street was silent, but his thoughts were loud. If Majid had allies, they might try to continue what he started. Just past midnight, a sound echoed outside footsteps. Rizwan quickly checked his camera feed. 2 figures were near the corner of the street, standing close to each other, whispering. One of them pointed toward Rizwan's house before they both walked away into the dark. Rizwan's hands tightened into fists. It was not his imagination. The danger was real. The next day, he went back to the police station with the new footage. The officer examined it carefully. This changes things. Majid may not have acted alone. If he had people supporting him, they may try to continue his actions while he is gone. Rizwan knew then that his battle was not over. Catching Majid had only revealed the surface of a deeper problem. Someone else was still out there, watching, waiting, and planning. For the first time, Rizwan realized this was no longer about just a smashed car. It was about protecting his home, his neighbors, and the peace of the entire street. And he was ready. The week after Rizwan discovered the shadow figures was tense. The neighborhood seemed calm during the day, but everyone knew something was wrong. Residents spoke quietly to each other and kept their doors locked at night. Rizwan felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him. One evening, he decided to walk around the street, checking for anything unusual. The sun was setting, and shadows stretched across the pavement. He noticed a black SUV parked at the end of the lane. The same one Majid had used before. Rizwan froze for a moment but then walked closer, keeping a safe distance. A man stepped out, wearing dark clothes but no badge this time. He looked around quickly, as if making sure no one was watching. Rizwan's heart pounded. He realized Majid's plan had not ended with his arrest. Someone else had come to continue the intimidation. Rizwan quietly called the police, giving them the SUV's location. Then he moved to a nearby house to stay out of sight. Within minutes, the patrol car arrived, and the man noticed it immediately. He jumped back into the SUV and sped away. Rizwan noted the license plate carefully. The next morning, the officer who responded to Rizwan's call came by. "We tracked the SUV. It belongs to someone with connections to Majid," he explained. "We believe he may have had followers who shared his obsession. They may try to intimidate residents like he did." Rizwan nodded. "So this is bigger than one man. We need to prepare." Over the next few days, Rizwan worked with the HOA and the police to increase surveillance. Cameras were installed on street corners, and neighbors were asked to report anything suspicious immediately. The community felt safer knowing they were organized, but Rizwan knew the threat was still close. Then, one night, a message arrived on Rizwan's phone. It was anonymous, just a short text: "Stop watching, or you will regret it." Rizwan showed it to the officer, who took it seriously. "This confirms someone is trying to scare you. But do not respond. Let us handle it." The following evening, Rizwan stayed near his porch, watching the street through his camera. Hours passed quietly, and then, just before midnight, movement appeared. Two figures approached his car. Rizwan recognized them immediately from the footage he had seen before. They examined the vehicle and whispered to each other. Rizwan stayed calm and called the police. Meanwhile, he thought quickly. He decided to confront them, but carefully. He stepped outside, holding his phone with the recording light on. "Hey," he shouted firmly. "We see you. Stop this now." The two men froze. One turned and ran toward the SUV parked nearby. The other hesitated, but Rizwan advanced slowly, keeping a steady voice. "You do not have the right to threaten this community. Leave, or the police will take you." Within moments, police sirens wailed. The first man jumped into the SUV, but the second was cornered by officers. They quickly took him into custody. Rizwan realized how brave he had to be to stand his ground. Without his action, the man might have escaped. The next day, Rizwan met with the HOA and the police. "We caught one of the followers," the officer explained. "We are still investigating if there are more, but your quick thinking helped us prevent another incident. The community owes you gratitude." Rizwan smiled slightly. He felt proud but also aware. Majid's influence had spread farther than anyone expected. There were still unknown threats, and the neighborhood had to remain vigilant. That evening, Rizwan looked at his car. It was still damaged from Majid, but it now represented resilience. He had faced a bully, uncovered the truth, and helped protect the entire street from further harm. The shadow might move again, he knew, but now he was ready. The community was awake, aware, and organized. Together, they could face whatever came next. Rizwan felt a quiet confidence. For the first time, he understood that courage was not just about facing one man, but about standing up for everyone in the neighborhood. The week after the followers were caught, the neighborhood began to feel alive again. Children played outside, neighbors greeted each other warmly, and Rizwan finally felt the tension lifting. The shadow that Majid had cast over the community was slowly disappearing. Rizwan's car still showed the marks of the attacks, but it had become a symbol of resilience. Every scratch and dent reminded him of the courage it had taken to stand up to the fake cop and his followers. He smiled quietly, knowing he had faced fear and uncertainty and had not backed down. The HOA called another community meeting, this time to discuss how to prevent similar incidents in the future. Noreen spoke firmly to the residents. "We have learned a lot from recent events," she said. "We must work together, report suspicious behavior immediately, and support each other. The HOA cannot act alone. The strength of the community comes from its members." Rizwan sat quietly at the back, listening. He felt a sense of pride. Not only had he exposed Majid and his followers, but he had also helped unite the neighborhood. The residents began discussing ways to watch over the streets together, sharing contact numbers and agreeing to communicate regularly. Later that day, the police officer who had helped Rizwan visited once more. "Majid remains in custody, and we are investigating his connections thoroughly," he said. "The man you helped catch has also revealed information about potential supporters. We are confident the threat has been minimized, but vigilance is important." Rizwan nodded. "I understand. I will continue to stay alert, and the community will too." Over the next few weeks, life returned to normal. Rizwan repaired his car, but he left one dent and a broken side mirror as a reminder of the lessons he had learned. The neighborhood no longer feared a fake officer or his followers. People smiled, greeted each other, and looked out for one another. One evening, as Rizwan sat on his porch with Bilal, they reflected on the events. "You know," Bilal said, "if you had not stood up when you did, things could have gotten worse. The others might have followed Majid's rules blindly." Rizwan nodded. "I realized something important. Courage is not just about facing one person. It's about standing up for the whole community. People need to know they are not alone." Bilal smiled. "And now, they do. You set an example." Rizwan felt a quiet satisfaction. He had faced threats, deception, and fear, but he had also grown stronger. The neighborhood had grown stronger too. They were no longer passive residents but an alert, connected, and resilient community. In the following months, the HOA organized regular patrols with volunteers, neighborhood watch meetings, and community events. Residents felt safer and more connected. Rizwan often walked through the street, greeting people, checking on children playing outside, and making sure everyone felt secure. One afternoon, Rizwan noticed a young boy leaving his bicycle neatly by the sidewalk. He smiled and remembered the days when fear and tension had made the street tense and quiet. Now, laughter filled the air. Rizwan realized that standing up for what is right, even when it feels risky, can change more than just one life. It can change a whole community. Majid and his followers would remain behind bars, facing the consequences of their actions. But the lesson they left was clear: courage, unity, and vigilance were stronger than fear and deception. Rizwan looked at his repaired car, the dented side mirror reflecting sunlight. It was more than a car now. It was a story of resilience, bravery, and the strength of community. And for the first time in weeks, Rizwan felt truly at peace. The neighborhood had survived the storm. And together, they would continue to thrive, ready for whatever challenges the future might bring.